not thinking or caring about what other people think and say about me. That was huge for me. It took me a while to get there, but you can get there. Well, hello friends and welcome. If you are new, hi, my name is Nancy. Thank you for stopping by. If you are a returning customer, thank you so much. I appreciate your loyalty and that means the world to me, so thank you. For today's video, I will just be putting on a face of makeup as I talk to you about mental health and personal development. These are topics that I have recently really dug into deeply as I started this journey with YouTube, because a lot of people don't realize, but there's a huge part, emotional part that this process can take, which can be very scary, very intimidating. And so I found myself having to overcome a lot of these fears in order to sit here in front of the camera and talk to you like I'm doing right now. I recently came across this seminar. It was a free seminar online, and it turns out it's by this woman here. Her name is Jamie Kern-Lima, and she is the founder of Fit Cosmetics. When I signed up for this seminar, I didn't know who she was, but she wrote this book, and it's called Believe It: How to Go From Underestimated to Unstoppable. And I just want to read you quickly a little excerpt. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but anyway. It says, do you have big goals, hopes, and dreams, but let rejection get in the way? Do you struggle with feeling like you're not enough and like success is something that happens to other people, but have a hard time believing it's possible for you? Do you let past mistakes and failures hold you back? Do you deep down know that you were created for more, but somehow still doubt yourself? I think that's something that most of us can relate to at some level. For me, it's been, like I said, really challenging to overcome all the fears. And courage is not an absence of fear. It is feeling the fear and still doing it and moving forward and getting past that and overcoming it. And I have a lot of personal experience with overcoming hardships, which a lot of it I slowly would want to start kind of opening up about, because I think I want people who have maybe experienced the same thing to not feel alone, to know that other people like myself have gone through these things, and they a lot of times are just the things that we need to push us to the next level, to spark that something in us that encourages and motivates us to really finally show up for ourselves with our full potential, because we all have it in us, but we have a lot of blocks that just kind of keep that, and that little voice in our head that is just our worst enemy and the biggest bully. The feelings of I'm not good enough, I don't have a college degree, no one will take me seriously, I'm gonna be ridiculed, people are gonna judge me. And a lot of times we have these dreams and we have this deep gut feeling inside that we are meant to be doing more, that we know we can do more, but we allow all these negative thoughts to kind of just kill that dream before it even has the chance to take off. And that's something that I am working really hard at on a daily basis. It takes discipline. It takes really wanting something so bad that you're willing to put yourself out there. You're willing to be uncomfortable. You're willing to be vulnerable, and this is an understanding that this is the only way to get to the next level. And this journey with YouTube has started me on this path that I know deep down I have more to offer the world with my experiences, with my wisdom, at my age, all the things that I've gone through. I know a lot of women will be able to relate to a lot of the things that I've gone through, and maybe in some small way I can help you, and then you can help someone else, and this is what it's all about at the end of the day. Especially as women, I feel like it's important that we stick together instead of compete with one another. I feel like we should uplift, encourage, and elevate each other and celebrate each other's successes instead of seeing it as something that makes you feel less than. There's a saying that goes, don't compare your beginning with someone's medium or with someone's end. If we continue to compare ourselves, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, we are always going to feel that we're not enough, that we're not doing enough, that we're not achieving enough. And unfortunately, social media is a big contributor to that, which is, there was a point that I just completely got off social media because it would make me depressed, because I would see these posts about people that, seemingly had perfect lives. And if you dig deeper, that's all a facade. That's what people put forward, but that's not real. And so I would compare myself to that, and my life then always felt like it was worthless, and they were having these great lives and succeeding and making money and doing what they love, doing what they're passionate about and make a living. And it just made me feel worse and worse and worse about myself. But over time I have learned that is not that's not my outlook anymore. My journey is my journey, and I tell myself on a daily basis, I am not behind, I am not forward. I am exactly where I need to be in this precise moment, in this precise day. And I want to continue having this talk. I am hoping to start a series. If this works out, I was thinking calling it maybe Motivation and Makeup Monday. So that's just a thought. But I know this is like a huge intro, and if you're still sitting here, thank you so much. We are just gonna start putting on makeup as we continue to talk about these things. Okay, so let's get started. I just did my brows off camera just to save some time. All of the products that I'll be using, I will just list down in the description box. I don't wanna mention them as we go because then it would take forever. So when the pandemic first hit, I found myself just being bored out of my mind. I was sleeping till 1 in the afternoon. I was binging on show after show after show. And that was just my way of just checking out. I didn't want to wake up and face the world. I just felt with no purpose. I just felt stuck. I was in a really bad place. I have a history of depression, and get ready because this is gonna be a really open video in a way that I've never really talked about before or opened up, but I do want to allow my subscribers to get to know me just the same way I would like to get to know you guys. So I'll go first. So I found myself in this place of just no motivation, no energy. I wasn't eating, just mental and physical, completely just drained. There was like no waking up every day. I felt like I feared it because I would wake up sometimes with just like in panic mode. I also have, I should mention, a history of panic attacks, and if you've never had a panic attack, you're very lucky. They are very, very scary. You feel like you're gonna die, and I've been having them for years, since I think it started in my 20s, but it's not something that happens all the time. But when they happen, they are very, very scary, and and certain things trigger them. For me, for example, like not being able to breathe triggers a panic attack. Like the other day, I don't know if you know that, but I'm a Zumba instructor, but I haven't been teaching in the last year, and I wanted to get back into working out, and I started doing that, and the other day I went too fast, too quickly, and so I was completely out of breath, and sure enough, got a horrible panic attack. And it normally takes me like from, I don't know, a minute to 3 minutes to be able to calm myself down, and I've learned tricks along the way, and I'll mention them now because if you are one of those people that does suffer from panic attacks, this is very helpful. So this woman, her name is Mel Robbins. You might have heard of her. She does this technique where she counts backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because what that does is it interrupts the brain. The spinning that happens when you're in panic mode, that just kind of, you just get worse and worse and worse. This saying that, it breaks that kind of like that link. Also, another technique that my therapist taught me a while back is you just sit still and you start focusing on things you can see. So you start looking around the room and you say, I see a door, I see a TV, I see a ring light, I see a mirror. You start doing that. You start thinking about, what do I smell? Do I smell roses? Does it smell like food? Does it? And same thing. What am I feeling? Am I touching? This feels silky. And what that does is the same idea. It breaks the pattern. It interrupts it. And that's how I've been able, over the years, to kind of manage my panic attacks. But in addition to that, I've suffered from depression since a very young age. I just didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I just was never happy. I was always feeling like I could not wait for the end to come so that I could just be at peace. So I would look at death as something that I looked forward to, because life was just too hard. And later on, I didn't know that these thoughts weren't normal, that other people didn't feel this way. To me, that's how it always felt. Now, mind you, I did have a really difficult upbringing in a really dysfunctional home with a lot of physical and mental abuse, emotional abuse, with an alcoholic father who was absent, with a mother who was left raising 5 children on her own, and didn't have coping skills. And so that led to, a lot of violence in the home, a lot of abuse, and a lot of neglect. And to make matters worse, I was also bullied in school, not just verbally, but physically. I was assaulted a lot, especially in middle school. For those 2 years, it was like almost a daily thing. That got me to a place where I found like no relief, whether at home or in school. I was in pain no matter where I went, and I think that's when my thoughts of like this, I can't do this. This is too hard. So the first time I tried to commit suicide, not commit myself, I think I was like 13, and I didn't know any better. I found a bunch of pills and I just took the whole bottle. It turns out that it was just Tylenol, and I just ended up puking all day. And later on, I remember I had a friend who committed suicide. She jumped off. She was 18 years old. This happened later, obviously. I was around her age, and she jumped off from a 5-story building. And I remember thinking, like, wow, she's so brave and so awesome, and I want to do that. I want to be able to do that. I remember going to the window from our little bathroom in Washington Heights in New York, which back then in the 70s was a horrible neighborhood with a lot of violence and gangs and drugs and everything. And so that in and of itself was a stressing environment as it was, not to mention the living conditions, which were horrible. Back then, landlords would get away with not having to put heat. So we would spend winters with no heat, no hot water, and windows broken, and my mother would have to stuff like 5 towels on the window to cover it with tape. And it was just brutal. It was very, those years were very, very difficult. So I remember, yes, thinking, wow, I admire her. I wish I had the courage to do that. And when I went to the window, I just couldn't. I was too scared. And actually, this is not what I thought I would be talking about, but I just I had to start somewhere. So anyway, over time, the thoughts, not that I don't think that they got better. I think I just learned to deal with it, and that state of mind just kind of became my norm. It was just my norm. I would always look at other girls and always just wanting to have their life, not wanting my life, and I would fantasize about what it would be like to be them, to have their life, and it was something, like they say the grass is greener on the other side, but I didn't know any better, because everyone goes through things, and what we can see on the outside is very, very different than what's really going on, deep inside in our family homes, in our family life rather. And before that, I had experienced other traumatic things, so I think that's why I always kind of grew up with the always anxiety ridden, always prone to depression. And as I became an adult, I just continued to kind of attract those same chaotic things into my life, not knowingly, not on purpose, but we attract what we are. And that's exactly what happened. I would go into relationships that were not good, to put it in the least, that were also abusive relationships with men that would make me feel less than, that would just make me feel, that would validate the way I felt about myself, which was, you have no value, you're worthless, all these things that I grew up believing about myself. So, for me, self-esteem was non-existent. Self-love was non-existing. I hated myself, and I just wanted the pain to stop. But as an adult, I just, like I said, I kept bringing these things into my life without realizing it. And then more experiences kept happening that I won't go into detail, because it's really difficult stuff that I don't think we need to go into, but maybe someday we could talk about it. But to make a long story short, over the years, I didn't really seek professional help, I guess, when I should have. And so over the years, my coping mechanism became something really unhealthy. And I needed to join a 12-step program, if you know what that means. And what has brought me to this point is that situation became a problem again in my life when the pandemic hit, because I found myself, I started drinking every day, which for someone who's in recovery, you can't do that. So drinking every day, just feeling worse and worse about myself, not even enjoying it, just doing it because it was like something to do, something that would help me escape. And the same thing with binge watching TV. That's just another way of escapism for me. And that led to me going back to the problem that got me to join the 12-step program to start with. I don't want to mention the name because it may cause problems with YouTube. But anyway, that just brought me right back to what had been, the thing that pretty much destroyed my life several times on several occasions. And so last summer that happened again, and I went back, checked myself in to a facility, and started working on myself, started going back to my meetings, to my 12-step meetings, which in and of itself is a spiritual program. And it's where you meet with people that struggle with the same things as you, and it's a way to support one another. And it has saved my life. That program has saved my life, and I actively, I go to a meeting pretty much every night, I try to go as much as possible because this disease of addiction is no joke. The opiate epidemic in 2020, 2019 took so many lives, and a lot of awareness has been brought because of that, but this had been happening for way before that. So a lot of young people dropping like flies, and I don't want to be part of the statistic. You know, you would think people see me, you know, a 55-year-old woman, like no one ever would think that that's something that I struggle with, but that just goes to show that we never really know what someone could be going through. And there's a saying that says, you know, hurt people. And sometimes when someone is mean to us or says something horrible that hurts our feelings, it may not be anything to do with us, but it's maybe the extent that they're hurting. And, you know, we just never really know. So this has motivated me to start this journey. I started implementing daily habits, daily healthy habits. No more sleeping in. I put I put a list of all the things I was going to change, the little changes I was going to incorporate on a daily basis, because everything starts with, you know, small changes, small steps that lead to you know, breakthroughs that take you to that place where you need to be or that you want to be in. So I started that way, just with some discipline, with some consistency, you know, being responsible. If I said I was going to do something, actually doing it. And that's how I started, you know, you start building like a little bit more self-confidence, because you start to trust yourself. You start to be able to rely on yourself, which when you struggle with the disease of addiction, that's something that is non-existent. You know, there's a lot of shame and guilt and self-hate that comes with it. And so getting away from all that takes a whole shift. You have to shift your entire personality, the way you think, the way you act, the way you perceive the world. Everything has to change. And the beauty of it is that with the program, with the 12-step program, it happens pretty much instantly. And then of course you have to continue to work on yourself every day, because the minute we stop learning and growing is when, you know, when life really has no meaning. But I started to implement these little things on a daily basis, showing up for myself, setting goals, writing down my goals. I've never done that before. I never set goals. And someone said, like, how can you measure your progress if you don't write it down? If you don't write down what it is that you're working towards, what are the steps that you need to take to get you to where you want to be? So I've learned to write things down, to journal, to keep a gratitude list, to do, even if it's 10 minutes on a daily basis, to just sit with myself and remember my purpose, remember my goals. I have also, what do they call that? Let me just show you. Oh, a vision board. It's a vision board. One sec. So this is my vision board. I still have to add to it, but that's something that you can do that could be helpful, because if you're a visual person, then you can look at that every day, and that you know, it's kind of all in one place. But I started doing that. I signed up for a seminar with Tony Robbins. I'm also doing another one in March. And I bought some audio tapes that I listen to throughout the day on things that I need to work on to be able to have a more fulfilled life, and the things that I know that I need to change, like the character defects, we call it in the program, that I can see, that I can acknowledge, and then I need to work on them. It's a lot of inside work that needs to happen, and it doesn't happen overnight. And I've just been so inspired to keep doing this, to continue to grow, to continue to learn, because I finally feel that I owe that to myself, and I don't want to put it on hold anymore. I finally feel like I deserve that. And if I want to do the best that I can for my children, this is the way. It starts with me. Because if I am happy, if I am stable, if I'm okay, if I'm safe, then they will be all those things.